on, the countdown to Waqf showdown has begun. Today, the Joint Parliamentary Committee on Waqf has submitted its report to Lok Sabha Speaker. JPC Chairman Jagdambika Pal was accompanied by several BJP MPs, but the opposition MPs, part of the panel, boycotted the event and registered their protest. The Waqf report has been adopted by a majority vote and has 14 amendments suggested by members of the ruling BJP. The proposed amendments aim to inject much-needed transparency into the system. BJP is confident that the new bill will bring transparency and accountability to the management of Waqf properties, in addition to ending the abuse of the previous act. But opposition has called the move biased and an attempt to destroy Waqf boards. Vipaksh has branded this as an attack on the constitutional rights of the Muslim community and interference in the functioning of Waqf boards. Listen in.
For a very long time, Waqf properties were mismanaged. There was opaqueness in the management of the Waqf properties. These problems have been addressed effectively by the amendments that the government and the members of parliament have introduced in the new bill.
वक्फ बोर्ड में विपक्षी सदस्यों द्वारा लाए गए एक भी संशोधन को स्वीकार नहीं किया गया और सत्ता पक्ष की तरफ से लाए गए सारे संशोधन स्वीकार कर लिए।
इन्होंने वक्फ बोर्ड को बर्बाद करने की पूरी तैयारी की है और ये वक्फ बोर्ड को बर्बाद करना चाहते हैं। मैं बार बार यही कह रहा हूं कि हमें टारगेट किया जा रहा है, खासतौर से माइनॉरिटी के अंदर मुसलमान को टारगेट किया जा रहा है और टारगेट इसलिए किया जा रहा है कि इनके नाम के ऊपर हम नफरत फैला करके पोलराइज कर सकें। बात विकास की नहीं होगी, बात सिर्फ और सिर्फ नफरत की करेंगे।
You're watching the News Hour at 9, debate number 2 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
All right, Tuhin Sinha, Sanjay Jha and Danish Qureshi continue to be with us. We're also joined by Dr. Shalini Ali, National Convener of the Muslim Rashtriya Manch and author, Waqf Amendment Bill 2024, Respect to Islam and Gift for Muslims. Tuhin Sinha, let me begin with you, because the opposition has said that only feedback suggestions of the BJP members were taken and, you know, this is nothing but an eyewash.
Swati, for the last 5 months, starting August first week, I think nearly 100 meetings of the JPC has taken place. Many, discussions took place. And finally, I think the reason why the opposition is so rattled because of 3 crucial changes which are going to see the light of the day. And these are, absolute game changer changes which would end the land mafia practices of the Waqf board conclusively. Number 1, non-Muslims to be included in Waqf Council. Now, why it is important? Most of the claims laid by Waqf, the Waqf board was towards properties owned by Hindus. That included a, village in Tamil Nadu which had a temple for the last 1500 years. That included a village in Haryana which had a Gurudwara for the last 400 years. That included, the land of Christians in Kerala. So it is important to have non-Muslims in the Waqf Council. Number 2, practicing Muslims for 5 years are only eligible to donate land for Waqf. And number 3, there is increased centralization of the Waqf tribunal. These are very important safeguards to end the nuisance and the menace of the Waqf board. The Waqf board had become a land mafia, it had become a land aggrandizement tool for the last several years, and this practice had only increased in the last 1 year when they realized that their practices were going to end through this Waqf Amendment Act.
Okay. Sanjay Jha, 38 meetings, 112 hours of debate and discussion, 250 stakeholders. The government says an extensive deliberation happened with the stakeholders. We debated it. There were members of the opposition present there, and it's unfair to say that this is an eyewash or that, their suggestions were ignored.
Swati, I would request all the viewers of Times Now to kindly read any newspaper report, read the Indian Express report that actually quoted what the opposition said actually transpired in these meetings and the number of hours that Mr. Sinha is waxing eloquent about. It's a mockery of democracy. Can you imagine that all the opposition amendments were rejected, over 40 of them summarily trashed in the garbage can, and everything that the BJP and the majority, who have the majority by the way, everything they recommended was incorporated. Number 2, a voluminous document which was meant to be read by everybody was given to them in the afternoon, and the matter was to be discussed within 24 hours. I mean, if this is the cursory and the extremely, what I call as frivolous manner in which the BJP is treating the Waqf amendments, it tells you that for the BJP, it is another instrument of political polarization. And this anti-Muslim, anti-minority character of this party, I think, is in its DNA. And we all have to reconcile to that reality that the BJP in its DNA is a party that will always attack Muslims and the minorities. And India has to figure through votes, through civil society, through debates like this, as to how can we maintain our secular framework within the framework of our constitutional democracy.
Dr. Shalini Ali, Mr. Sajeja just said that this is another tool of political polarization. Some of the opposition members have said, you now can't even trust such committees that were recognized as, the committees that would take decisions on such matters. They have been reduced to a farce, and some leaders saying that the opposition members were not given enough time to discuss the issues, their feedbacks have not been taken, and some also saying this is an attempt to end Waqf completely. This is against the minority community, against the Muslim community.
Okay, Swati, I'm going to answer your questions categorically. Number one, when it comes to the question that the opposition party was not given enough time, or they were a part of the JPC and they were not allowed to put across their questions, I would like to give it on record that I was probably the only Muslim intellectual group that had the honor of being present in the JPC where my session took place, and I was there for over 3.5 hours. Mind you, I had Mr. Asouddin Owaisi also present, I had Kalyan Banerjee also present, and the other leaders of the political parties that were opposing the Waqf Board. And throughout that 3.5 hours, I can just say it on record that none of the opposition parties were refused to ask me or my members who were accompanying me to ask any question, and they were given liable answers for the same, because of which I had the longest session, being a woman, being a Muslim woman, and supporting the Waqf Amendment Bill of 2024. As a matter of fact, I have co-authored a book which also gives a roadmap for the bringing about of the amendments and bringing in a smooth transition, because amendments are nothing which are happening for the first time. It's not the first time that an amendment is being proposed for the Waqf Board. The Waqf Board Act has had amendments before. Secondly, when you are talking about the JPC and having over 100 of meetings, by now, all the committee members should be on board stating that when we are talking about transparency, when we are talking about land mafia, when we are talking about widows and orphan children having their properties taken away, when we are talking about land details and revenue records that are not kept on record. As a matter of fact, I even put across a Waqf Act, a land property mentioned as 25, Waqf Property Act, Waqf Property 25 in Aligarh, which is a Waqf property, and it has a mall that is being made on that Waqf property. And I've asked for the answers from the opposition party that when we are talking about transparency, how does a mall come up? How do bungalows come up?
Okay.
How do other kind of activities start taking place in these charitable lands?
Now since you witnessed these deliberations up close and personal, how do you respond to the criticism that the amendments that were suggested by the members of the ruling BJP were accommodated and not that of the opposition?
As a matter of fact, every suggestion that has been given has been put on record. Now, if you're going to say that, no, we don't want transparency, we don't want a person who is practicing Islam for more than 5 years to be one of the Waqf givers or the Waqif. When you're saying you don't want more than 2 women on the board, as a matter of fact, the provision for women to be members in the Waqf board is already there. But where is it in practice? Even previously, I have mentioned that we only have about 6 to 7 women who are members of the Waqf board.
Okay.
When we are talking about non-Muslims to be members, then please go on record and check that there are non-Muslims who are even taking the Waqf property which is leased out to the non-Muslims. So why can't we have for administrative purposes of the Waqf board, why can't we have non-Muslims?
Okay. Let me bring in Danish Qureshi as well. Debate the merits, debate the flaws, disagree if you want to, challenge it if you want to, but Danish Qureshi ji, to say that ki test mat kijiye patience Muslims ka, ye kya hai? Is this an attempt to provoke people?
देखिए, मैं तो एक ही बात कहूंगा स्वाति जी, ये बहुत सारी बातें शालिनी जी ने कही, तुहिन भाई ने कही, तमाम लोगों ने कही और भारतीय जनता पार्टी के बड़े बड़े नेताओं ने कही।
हाँ।
और अभी शालिनी जी ये कह रही हैं कि भाई नॉन मुस्लिम जो है वो वक्फ में आने चाहिए या लेने चाहिए, ऐसा इनका व्यू है। अच्छी बात है। मैं इनसे ये पूछ रहा हूं कि कुंभ का मेला जारी है और कुंभ के मेले में कल रात में भी एक नया स्टेटमेंट आया है कि मुसलमानों को अंदर नहीं आने दिया जाना चाहिए। खैर इसको तो छोड़िए, लेकिन इसके बाद बढ़ के जो बात आ रही है वो ये आ रही है कि अब मुसलमान होने का सर्टिफिकेट भी नरेंद्र मोदी की सरकार, मतलब भारतीय जनता पार्टी और कलेक्टर साहब बांटेंगे कि 5 साल इसने नमाज पढ़ी है या नहीं पढ़ी है, ये मुसलमान है या नहीं है, ये वक्फ दे सकता है कि नहीं दे सकता। और वो देने के बाद अगर 4 साल में कोई व्यक्ति, और फॉर सेक ऑफ आर्ग्यूमेंट अगर फोर्थ हो जाता है, सुनिए
नहीं आप ही बोलिए, मैं आपको इंटरप्ट नहीं कर रही हूं
जी, तो कोई आदमी अगर 4 साल में फोर्थ हो जाता है और वो ये कह के जाता है कि भाई मैं इसको दे दूंगा, तो क्या होगा? दूसरे नंबर की बात कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी, नरेंद्र मोदी की सरकार और तमाम लोग मिलकर सबसे पहले तो एक बात क्लियर कर ले कि जिन माफियाओं की वो बात कर रही है, अच्छी बात है, उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए, लेकिन जो लैंड गवर्नमेंट ने कवर कर रखी है वो पहले हैंड ओवर करनी चाहिए, जिसमें अलग अलग वो बन चुके हैं, महकमे बन चुके हैं सरकारी। तो सवाल ये है कि पहले आप अपने तरीके से साफ होइए, उसके बाद दूसरों से बात करिए। तीसरे और आखिरी नंबर की बात मुझे ये बताइए कि वही कलेक्टर जो हैं वो रेवेन्यू मैनेज भी करेंगे, वही गवर्नमेंट का स्टेक भी दिखाएंगे और वही वक्फ में भी काम करेंगे। तो ये मुझे लगता है कि ये सीधा सा एक लॉजिक वही है भारतीय जनता पार्टी का कि अदालत बंद करके फिर पुलिस थाने में फैसला हो जाएगा।
ठीक है, अब काउंटर ले लीजिए। डॉक्टर शालिनी अली आपको काउंटर दे रही हैं। जी
मैम, आई वुड लाइक टू पुट इट ऑन रिकॉर्ड कि आज ही हमारे पास ये खबर आई है कि क्योंकि वहां कुंभ में इतना बड़ा हादसा हुआ है, आपको पता है प्रयागराज में जितने भी मदरसा है और मस्जिद है, वहां पे हिंदू यात्री जो वहां पे है पिलग्रिमेज करने के लिए जो आए हुए वो वहां रुके हुए हैं। और मैं ये आपको ये भी आश्वासन देती हूँ कि वहां पे मुसलमानों के तहत एक भंडारा चल रहा है जहां पे हिंदू जितने भी वहां पे आए हुए हैं अपने धर्म के हिसाब से आए हुए, वो वहां जाकर भंडारा खा रहे हैं। तो ये जो बात होती है ना ऐसे लोगों की कि नहीं जी यहाँ कुंभ के मेले में मत जाइए और वहां पे जाइए, आपने देखा होगा बहुत मुसलमान ऐसे हैं जो कुंभ के मेले में गए स्नान करने के लिए भी। भारतीय सभ्यता जो है वो गंगा जमुना तहसील।
नहीं डॉक्टर अली, मैं अंत में आपसे सवाल फिर से पूछूंगी कि ये अपीजमेंट खत्म करेगा या वक्फ को खत्म कर देगा? क्या ये मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी के खिलाफ होगा?
देखिए वक्फ को खत्म करना तो मुमकिन ही नहीं है, क्योंकि मैं आपको यहाँ पे भी ये बात बता दूं कि ये भारत देश ही है जहाँ पे एक वक्फ बोर्ड है, वरना आप बाकी के जितने भी शरीयत लॉ फॉलोइंग स्टेट्स देखते हैं, कंट्रीज देखते हैं, वहां पे वक्फ बोर्ड जैसा कुछ ही नहीं है। तो ये प्रावधान आपको यहीं की सरकार दे रही है। और आपको ये भी मैं बता दूं कि सरकार जब आई थी, जब कांग्रेस की सरकार आई थी।
Okay, I have to wrap up. I'm completely out of time. Tuhin Sinha, Sanjay Jha, Dr. Ali and Danish Qureshi, thank you very much for joining us.